Breaking news again. For those of you who haven't even had a chance to watch our last podcast or listen to it, there's a lot of great conversation there, and I highly recommend that whether you're watching along on the Suns Jam Session channel or on Suns Geek channel, you still watch that, because we had a lot of really good conversation when it was released yesterday on Saturday that the Phoenix Suns could potentially be a trade partner for one Bradley Beal. Here we are 24 hours later. I'm this close to being out of the door as my family's taking me to a surprise Father's Day lunch location. And what do you know, Matthew? Bradley Beal is now a Phoenix Sun.
Just in time, man. What we're talking about last pod, I'm going to California, taking a few days off, and this is perfect. I like the way the Suns work nowadays. Get the big news out of the way nice and quick. That way when people go on their vacation, we can talk about it for about an hour. This is exciting, right? I mean, we were kind of up and down yesterday, but it's kind of like, it's kind of cool. It actually finally happened.
There's a lot to talk about. Of course, this is exciting. Of course, the fact that the Phoenix Suns are adding a former number 3 overall pick in Bradley Beal, a scoring machine, to our franchise, creating a new big 3 in the NBA is exciting. But as we bring on our good buddy Suns Geek, who we were just all sitting here 24 hours ago, what is your level of excitement with this deal?
I'm not as excited as I was about, when we got Kevin Durant and everything, but there's a lot. I'm trying to be optimistic here because like I told you guys before we went live, we're going to receive a lot of crap from the national media and the Twitter trolls and all the experts out there. But damn it, we have a big 3 now. Who knows what's going to happen with Deandre Ayton? We might have a big 4. I'm excited. Win or lose, Phoenix Suns for life, baby.
Amen. And you're 100% right. With the lose side of that, we will receive all of the flack in the NBA. All of the flack. Guess what, Suns? I've talked about this in the past, how it can get frustrating at times when opposing fan bases come after us because we've never really hurt anybody's feelings as a franchise. Count them, 0 championships. There's no other team that has lost a championship at the hands of the Phoenix Suns and thus eviscerated the hopes of an entire other opposing fan base. But when you have names like Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal on your team, you're going to get those Twitter trolls. You're going to get the people who are going to come out of the woodwork, and anytime you try to say anything, they're going to throw it in your face. And even if we do win a chip, people might not value it. But at the end of the day, Matthew, do you give a shit? Because all I want is that championship.
No, yeah, all I want is a championship. But are the Suns like the last team to really try to put together these super teams? I feel like we're kind of
they're doing it way too late.
Yeah, like we're just now getting into it, and I don't feel like a lot of other teams are doing that. But you know what? They're like they can let the Suns have it and be like, oh, we'll take it because we just want that championship. And next 2 years looks pretty good.
Well, we have plenty to talk about on this emergency podcast of the Suns Jam Session podcast, which is being simultaneously cast on Suns Geek's channel once again. Very excited to be sharing streams with you, which doesn't sound appropriate, Suns Geek, but we'll move past that. But before we get into all that, I do want to tell all of our Arizona Sun supporters that we have a fantastic deal from Caesars Sportsbook that you don't want to pass up. If you're a new customer, you can get a $1,250 bonus on your first bet at Caesars Sportsbook. All you have to do is sign up with our code, which is SunsJamFull. And if you use our promo code SunsJamFull, you will not only have your first bet insured, but you will also be directly supporting this here show. So if you haven't signed up already for Caesars Sportsbook, use our promo code SunsJamFull and place that first wager. This offer is only accessible for new customers who are 21 years in age of older and physically present in Arizona. Please play responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP if you or a loved one has a gambling issue. The complete terms can be found in the podcast description. On that note, getting ready to leave, but I'm not leaving yet. We're popping open something ice cold. I got a DDP is what we call it here. Ooh, is that Sonic the Hedgehog?
Yeah,
G Fuel? Let's go. And Matthew, ooh, is that Dasani, or are you going with upscale for this one and you doing something like Aquafina?
It's something. I'll never show.
Okay, well, we're gonna pop them. Matthew's not going to show them. And let's drop that music. I'm going to have to find some Bradley Beal footage to put in here eventually. just want to give a quick shout out as we begin this episode to SpotTrack.com. You guys are both familiar with SpotTrack.com, correct?
Yeah.
I'm sneezing. Say something
Bless
more.
you.
Bless you.
Thank you. SpotTrack.com already has Bradley Beal as a shooting guard on the Phoenix Suns, which is absolutely fantastic. As you go, they're on it, man. They really are.
Yeah,
they
great.
are on it. But the Phoenix Suns, according to Adrian Wojnarowski, it broke today that the Phoenix Suns have confirmed to ESPN that a framework is in place that they'll land Bradley Beal. The quote that is coming out of Wojnarowski's camp: this was an extremely complicated process with so many different hurdles to get through. And Ted Leonosis and Michael Winger, who's the new president of basketball operations in Washington, were unbelievable partners in making this happen. If you look a little bit further into what some of the specifics released by both him and Shams Charania, it looks like the Phoenix Suns are dealing Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, and a handful of second-round picks and multiple pick swaps, league sources tell The Athletic. So I'll start with this question for both of you. Has James Jones officially accomplished his entire goal of being the anti-Presti by giving away every fucking possible draft pick he could in an effort to bring players to this franchise?
I'll start with this one. Yes, he is the opposite of Sam Presti, which, on the surface, sort of my initial reaction, that's kind of what scares me, because I talked about it in a previous live show. We have we had, I guess, 5 future second-round picks or whatever it is, and now it feels like we have 0 picks. Do we even still have our pick this year? I'm a little scared about that, but damn it, I cannot repeat this enough. At least James Jones is doing something. At least Matt Ishbia and Josh Bartelstein and his team are making moves. But yeah, the fact that we're very, very limited on draft picks is a little scary. Even if it is a second-round pick, I don't care, man. Nikola Jokic was a second-round pick, so I don't know. Matthew, what do you think?
Yeah, draft picks I don't care about anymore. I haven't for the past few years. Get rid of them. Contracts, I don't give a shit. Big contract from Beal. What are we going to do for depth? I don't care. You get the guy here, figure it out later. That's the way Ishbia is working right now. I know you said James Jones, but it just seems like it's Ishbia. I mean, Ishbia is just pushing everything right now. He's like, we got to make one guy happy, and that's Devin Booker, right? If we're not going to do it through the draft, we got to get these guys where he's played in the U.S. Olympics with, guys that he knows that are actual ballers that love the game, and that's Bradley Beal. He's not a winner yet. We talked about last pod, but we'll see. I'm sure he will be. And defensively, we talked about how he's just not that great of a defensive player. Vogel, this team wanting to play defense, I think that's going to be just enough for him to actually push the limits on defense and become a better defender. But just right now, of course, Jamsters yesterday, they hated this idea of him coming here. A lot of them did because of the contract and all that. But we have to get used to it. Guys that are out there right now that want to be traded, we're going to get them. And doesn't matter how much money it costs.
Yeah, so, if we talk about the money, and that's, again, where a lot of us as Jamsters and Suns Geek, what do you call your followers? They're not like Swifties or something.
We're
Geek
still
Squad.
We're still coming up with the name, but it's either the Geek Squad, fellow Suns Geek. Someone, I think Sawbuck said Suns Geeketeers. So we'll say fellow Suns Geeks.
Yeah, I like that one.
Because even on your show, it's like we're all Suns Geeks. You know what I mean?
This is a fact. Yeah,
that's true.
As we're sitting here doing live podcasts and shows, the moment any news breaks in the middle of June, we're all geeks together. But as a lot of people, there was a big topic of conversation as we did the show yesterday is, would you even entertain the deal? And I'll talk a little bit about the specifics of the deal, but I will start by talking about what Matthew just mentioned, and that is the money. That Bradley Beal is on the second year of a 5-year, $250 million contract that included a no-trade clause, which was vital to why this transaction occurred. He ultimately chose where he wanted to go, and he had all the leverage, which is interesting because that's typically not something that happens. It would typically something that would happen to the Phoenix Suns. Like, we would have an asset that is worth as much as it is, and we can't ultimately dictate where it wants to go, and therefore we would be handcuffed into what we could get back. And getting back in this situation is Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, and as mentioned by Shams Charania, a bunch of second-round picks. So looking at the construction of the roster, Bradley Beal is now the highest paid member of the Phoenix Suns. Just let that sink in for a second. You have Devin Booker, you have Kevin Durant. Who makes the most money? Yeah, it's Bradley Beal. It's the guy who can't stay healthy. And that's what one of those concerns was for the Suns, or us as a fan base, as we looked at what the Suns were attempting to acquire. It's going to be hard moving forward to ensure the health of this team, given the fact that Beal is injury prone, but so was Chris Paul, and that's the other side of this coin. Chris Paul has not only been unhealthy, but he's been unhealthy at the most inopportune moments. So as we look at what ultimately James Jones did, and this is where, again, I'm talking myself into this trade because I don't know if I didn't want it to occur. But if it was going to occur, this is almost, in my opinion, the best case scenario, because James Jones has taken Chris Paul and Landry Shamet. And we've said it before, and I'll say it again. Landry Shamet is a damn near untradeable asset due to the size of his contract and the performance that he's provided this franchise and other franchises in his playing career. He took those two assets and he turned it into Bradley Beal, guys. Like, that is impressive, and you have to give James Jones credit for that.
Yeah, and go the other way too. Give credit to the Washington Wizards for taking on those two guys. What are they going to do with them? I don't know. That's not our problem anymore. But
yeah,
it does kind of hurt a little bit. Chris Paul will be gone, but you already know you're not going to get anything from him next year. Bradley Beal being a Sun and being the highest paid, he's the breadwinner right now. But the thing is like, initially it's like, it looks bad, right? He's the highest paid, but then give it a year, something else is going to happen to where another guy's going to be signed and be like, holy shit, he's making that much money. That's the way this works. That's why I feel like you can't really look at the contract. I understand why people are upset and don't want it to happen, but I was the same way too. I was kind of on and off. If it happened, it happened. If it doesn't happen, then it's fine. If he went to like the Mavericks, I'd be like, does that make them a contender? I don't know. Like the whole contender thing, when he comes here and he's going to be a part of the big three, it's possible. I think they're automatically going to go up in the betting, the betting sites, DraftKings. But right now, it's like the offense, they got to figure it out, obviously. But it's kind of nice because you said injury prone. They can take turns, not so much like on their shoulders every game. You know what I mean? Like Chris Paul took on a lot of heat coming to the Suns, doing a lot for this offense, getting things turned around. Injury prone he was, so is Bradley Beal, but Beal, KD, and Booker, they can just take turns. You know what I mean?
Offensively, it's disgusting, man.
Yeah, they don't have to do too much during the regular season, I feel like. Unless they want to be an all-star or an MVP or something, but you know what I mean? They can kind of cruise through in a way once they start to gel more.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback and second a lot of everything you guys just said. First off, you guys know me. I've studied the history of this league and all that. This has to be one of the top trios in terms of offense that we have ever seen.
Yeah.
And that is an understatement. And kind of like we said yesterday, there will be games that we are going to lose. It's not going to be pretty all the time. Let's be real. But this is an incredible opportunity for all three players, for the entire Phoenix Suns franchise. And I'm excited, man, especially under a new coaching staff.
Yes.
And we all know how great Kevin Young is on offense and everything with his philosophies and the way he goes about offense. And just our kind of elite coaching staff. I believe this is one of the greatest coaching staffs we've ever had. And now you have Bradley freaking Beal, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant, and DeAndre Ayton. That's what's crazy.
Yeah.
At least for right now, we have DeAndre Ayton. I'm thrilled, man. I'm like I said, I'm piggybacking on everything you guys are saying, but this is crazy, man.
I'm starting to feed off of your excitement now. Like, I am starting to get a little bit happy because, Matthew's right. Matthew's ultimately right, because if there's no money involved in this entire thing, this is a fucking slam dunk.
Oh, yeah.
It is. Now, you look at DeAndre Ayton plus Bradley Beal plus Devin Booker plus Kevin Durant. That accounts for $162.8 million, right? The luxury tax is $134, and I think the second tax apron is going to end up being $179, and that's what really hinders this team. But again, if you can you're going to be able to fill this team with maximum contract guys, because guys are going to line up. But I'm going to take that thought process out of my brain. I'm going to try to not think like an accountant, even though I'm not an accountant. I'm not Paul from Fanning the Flames.
Bobby Marks tweeted out the Suns to the new CBA. And
yeah, they're just burning it down.
It's like, who cares?
Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think a more appropriate way to look at it is when you have James Jones and you have Matt Ishbia, and they're looking at that CBA, and this is what they're saying to it.
It doesn't matter.
They don't care. They absolutely don't care.
Welcome aboard, guys.
And I want to give a shout out to Parker Hines, one of our elite jamsters. If you want to become an elite jamster, simply press the join button in the YouTube link on our channel below. He says Beal as a number. Oh, and then thank you. It's a $9.99 super chat. Thank you for supporting the podcast. We truly, truly appreciate it. It says Beal as a number one in Washington could not work. When Beal was a number two for Wall and Westbrook, he thrived. Have him as our number 3 is crucial for nights when Book and KD have off nights.
He's right.
And as Suns fans, we know that. We've seen Bradley Beal. Remember when the Suns played the Washington Wizards this past season? The Wizards suck. Beal came out in the fourth quarter and just obliterated us. And
that
it's
was such an embarrassing loss.
It was. And I remember losing money on that. And I was very, very upset, Bradley Beal. So I think Parker Hines just, with that $9.99 in the super chat, just made up for that bet that I made that evening on them to easily win against the Washington Wizards. But coming back and looking at, again, I'm not going to necessarily talk about the money, but you always have to think about it. Let's go this way. I was thinking about this morning. This is a topic of conversation that we had yesterday on the show when we talked about if we acquire Bradley Beal, who's 6'4", right? 6'4", I think 206, something like that. He's smaller than Booker, and he's not necessarily a great playmaker. You've just traded away your franchise point guard, which interestingly enough, the Phoenix Suns, if Bradley Beal is to take number 3, it's Bradley Beal, and then before him, it was Chris Paul, and then before him, it was Kelly Oubre. So it's like these interesting guys. I always wear number 3 in Phoenix. Is there any chance, given the way that this team is going to be constructed, that Beal becomes your 2 guard and Devin Booker plays some 3? Because we were talking about it a lot on the podcast yesterday about if you acquire Bradley Beal, this might force the Suns to utilize Devin Booker as the exception, not the rule at the point guard position. Is there any, because we've seen Devin Booker play the 3 before. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I took a shower right after I heard the news because I just wanted to, smell a little bit nice before getting on the podcast.
You do smell amazing.
Right when I got out. Thanks. Right when I got out, I was like, small ball, here we go. And for some reason, I was thinking about a Kogi, actually. I was thinking about point Book, and you can get Kogi back in there and play him at the 3 with Beal at the 2. I would love to do that just because of defensive-wise, you would need him in there. But if you can get another point guard, that'd be great to have those 3. But I just think there's going to be more ball movement than you guys will know going into the next season. I think right now you look at it, you'd be like, it's going to be stagnant. I even talked about it last podcast. I'm like, what's it going to look like? Because in the playoffs, KD and Book taking turns. I don't want that. I don't, but they're going to have a whole offseason to get things going with the offense. And there's going to be a lot of ball movement. I really think so. I think that's unselfish players. Booker wants to get better. Booker can be that guy that can be the distributor next year. And also just Bradley Beal. Maybe he wants to improve his game too. He is only 29, 3-time All-Star, right? So that's going to be another guy on the roster too that you have to struggle to get an All-Star game out of is going to be Bradley Beal. But other than that, I just think these guys are really gel well. I really do. I think that they're going to feed well off of each other, take turns, but also just get other guys involved. I think they're really going to be that type of team. It's not going to be like if we had, if we had just like a ball hog on the team to join and it was just like some guy we're overpaying that can just shoot lights out. Bradley Beal can be that guy, but it's all about maybe improving for this guy too. So he wants to prove himself to Phoenix just like KD is. They got to prove themselves to us as fans that they can win here. It's a lot of pressure, but I feel like him and KD, that's a lot on their shoulders, but I feel like they can handle it coming here to Phoenix.
Quick side tangent. I just want to just quote Matt Peterson here, who said the Phoenix Suns don't have a super team because Devin Booker wasn't an all-star. Neither was Bradley Beal. So super teams aren't real. But anyways, Devin Booker at the 3, the way that I look at it, I think this honestly all falls on what's going to happen with Deandre Ayton. Because if we trade Deandre Ayton, maybe get some kind of a point guard who can help run the show and everything. If not, I don't know what this roster is going to look like. I don't know who's coming back. Again, I don't know how it's going to work financially. And I kept saying this sort of like post KD trade and throughout the playoffs. I was like, I'm okay with experimenting, but it's just the wrong time to experiment.
Yeah.
But now you have a full off season, a full training camp, and all season to experiment. So if Booker wants to run the 3, or if he's running point, whatever the case may be, or again, we talked about this yesterday, Kevin Durant maybe doing some playmaking and point guard out there. I'm fine with that. I mean, maybe Kevin Durant could play the 4 or the 5. I don't know, depending on what the roster looks like. Mm-hmm. And again, guys, like there will be losses. We will be live together or on our own shows, and we're going to be super frustrated. Oh man, Bradley Beal was terrible tonight, and oh, this isn't working and all that. But like, it's going to take some time. I'm optimistic about it. And this is honestly what not James Jones. This is what Frank Vogel and his coaching staff get paid to figure out. 100%. They're gonna go to the film. They're gonna see things that we're not gonna see, like obviously in practice and all that, and they're gonna be able to figure it out. So again, this all just depends on the rest of the off season, what decisions we're gonna make, and it's gonna going to get crazier from here. And this already is.
It's already
pretty
absolutely nuts. It's
Yeah.
absolutely nuts. You're right.
Yeah,
Now,
I can't contain. I don't even understand.
I
what's going
can't
on.
process it, man.
I'm processing as best I can. And again, thank you to everybody who's watching along live. Make sure you hit a thumbs up if you're watching on the Suns Jam Session podcast
Smash
channel.
the like.
Hit that thumbs up. Head over to Suns Geek channel. Do it twice. You know, you're here anyways. You got something to do. You know, if you're a father and you're ignoring your family today, then good. They're leaving you alone, isn't it? It's glorious. I do want to give a shout out to Jim Rose Circus in the chat. He had a great name for, you know, we have the Jamsters on the Suns Jam Session podcast. He says the Geek Freaks is what you should call your fan base at Suns Geek. Thank you, Jim Rose.
I approve
Circus.
that message.
The Geek Freaks. I absolutely love that. That's fantastic. Now, a lot of the Jamsters and the Geek Freaks are talking in the chat about Deandre Ayton, obviously, because that is a big the next domino to fall, if you will, relative to the news that we're going to hear. Are the Suns going to move on from him? You know, Parker Hines, very curious to see how DA folds into this. Roy, time to trade DA for depth. Saltiest Gaming, thanks for hanging out. Trade DA for like 3 players. So I'll ask you guys this.
Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen with DA? Do you think that DA right now, this moment, June 18th, Bradley Beal just got traded to the Phoenix fucking Suns? Is Deandre Ayton going to be on this team next year?
Yesterday, I don't remember what I said, but right now I'm saying no. I like the idea from Roy. Trade him for 3 players. You got to get rid of him, or whoever said that. Get rid of him for depth. I think that's the next thing. I think you pull off this trade just knowing there's something there for DA. I would love to have DA to give him another chance. I would. But it's kind of just like restarting in a way, right? You can't really have him in. It's kind of like bringing back just a player from old, like a Kelly Oubre. If he were to come back, you have to deal with that again. You know what I mean? Like, there's no changing DA right now. It's going to take some time. So you just can't do that. When all your focus is on a championship and making each other better, you can't have a guy that is who we think is selfish in a way to just kind of destroy that from the inside out. Now, I'm not saying he's a bad dude. I'm just saying it can leak into, you know, the superstars and what they're trying to pull off here in Phoenix. You just don't want him back next year. So I'm all for trading him for just some depth. I don't care who it is.
Before you answer, Suns Geek, I will say this. As guys who go live after every single Suns game, that's what we do here on the Suns Jam Session podcast. After every single Suns game, we go live.
Except for one.
Yeah, I think we
year.
missed one. Yeah, there's like one a year where we're just like, you know what, it's the fucking Hornets, guys. Come on, give us a Tuesday off, if you will. But I will say this, like, you know, people, we watch DeAndre Ayton. We know the pros, we know the cons. One thing that we noted when Kevin Durant came to this team via trade, that DA became the 4th guy on the team, and therefore the expectations kind of fell by the wayside. And we would note on our post-game pods, Matthew, how nice that was. How we weren't sitting there putting all this weight into a guy whose motor would kind of come and go. Knowing that, him as a 4th option, can you get much better?
Yeah, because we had him as a 4th option when KD got here, and it was shit.
But it was only 8 games.
I know, but it's not. It never.
And they were 8-0.
Even when they threw up those boards, the big posters with him on it, I just can care less that he was on it. I'm sorry, to be honest. That's
okay.
Just my truth.
That's okay. That's Matthew's truth. All right, Suns Geek, what is your truth? Is Matthew's truth right? No, is DeAndre Ayton a member of this team next year?
You know, you guys know me. I'm a big what if guy. There really is a part of me that wants to, you know, in hindsight or whatever, see what a DeAndre Ayton would look like with this team. But I just think, you know, he's 24 years old, been here for 5 years or whatever. I just think it's a little too late. Again, anything could happen. We talked about it yesterday. You know, maybe if he sucks at the trade deadline and it's the same old DA and yada, 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 trade him at the deadline. But it's true. Like, if we do trade DeAndre Ayton, you know, even though we're super expensive, maybe that clears off a little bit of money, whatever the case may be. And then we can get some role players in here. But again, like, you know, we said this yesterday again, like, I can't say that enough. Like, you can win with a decent dominant big. You don't really need like a superstar maxed out DeAndre Ayton.
Miles Turner.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you need somebody like that. You just need a big, and, you know, small ball lineups can win. Nowadays, it's not, I don't really believe it's super common. But, you know, back in the day, back in the 90s a little bit and 80s and some other eras in this league, small ball can win. But to answer the question, I guess I don't I give it a 10% chance DeAndre Ayton is on this team next year. Again, there's a big part of me that wants to see it. And can DeAndre Ayton still turn into a top 10 big in this league? Absolutely. There's still room to grow. Like, I'm pretty sure you guys have seen the comments on your pages and everything. It's like once DA gets traded, he's probably going to become an all-star and everything. He's going to dominate and all that. But right now, he hasn't proved that. He has not lived up to the number 1 overall pick. There's all the off the court stuff, all that stuff with Monty Williams and everything we just witnessed in the playoffs. So I give it a 10% chance that DeAndre Ayton is on this team this upcoming season.
God, part of me, so Matthew's truth is no. You say 10%. Part of me just wants to go the other way because that's what the Suns have done this entire offseason. And since Matt Ishbia has shown up, whatever we think the Suns are going to do, they don't do it. They're going out and they're taking a swing at some big names. But I'm kind of with you guys in thinking that DeAndre Ayton's not going to be a member of this team. Pat LaGrady, super chat, $1.99. Truly appreciate supporting the pod and the show. Came in late. Do we still think Ayton is gone? I think all three of us do, because even though we're talking about how great this is from an offensive standpoint, from a roster construction standpoint, I've said it before, it's irresponsible to have 3 max players. To have 4 is downright stupid. As I mentioned, their combined salary right now is $162.8 million. That's not adding in the veteran minimum or the restricted free agent that is Ish Wainwright at small forward, who's $1.8 million, and Cameron Payne, who's not fully guaranteed, is $6.5. You put those guys in there and you're pushing almost $170 million. You have no one else rostered yet. No one. So they're going to have to go and take a swing, I'm guessing, via the trade market and via free agency for centers. Okay. Now, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I think that trading DeAndre Ayton to the Pacers, the only other team that offered money for him last year, right? That was the big topic of conversation last year. The market will set the value of DeAndre Ayton. What was the value? One team gave him a max contract. That was the Indiana Pacers. So they are interested in him. They like him. If they can trade him for Miles Turner, who played for Frank Vogel in Indiana all those years ago, and TJ McConnell, that makes sense. You're bringing in Turner, you're bringing in a point guard. Now, I'm not saying that TJ McConnell is your starting point guard per se, but he could be.
An underrated guard in this league, by the way.
Underrated, good at defense, can shoot. That's an option for the Suns to explore. If they want to trade him for other assets that provide more depth behind Devin Booker, behind Kevin Durant, behind Bradley Beal, or something that potentially brings in a starting point guard, then they would have to play the free agent market for centers. And who's out there? I mentioned this on yesterday's show. There's Brook Lopez. There's Nikola Vucevic. There's Jakob Poeltl, Christian Wood, Mason Plumlee. Naz Reid's a nice name, although he's injured. Dwight Powell, Thomas Bryant, Drew Eubanks. Busy's going to be gone unless we bring him back. Mo Wagner. I mean, there's some guys out there who are unrestricted free agents who the Suns can take a swing at. Roy in the chat, $1.99. Thank you for the support in the show. Ayton to the Mavs for McGee and role players? Potentially. Now, we know that McGee is a backup to the backup, essentially, at the center position, but that's what's going to be interesting with this transaction. And all three of us answered that question yesterday. If the Suns are to trade for Bradley Beal, would you rather it be Landry Shamet and Chris Paul, or Landry Shamet and DeAndre Ayton? And I know I was of the thinking, hey, I want it to be Landry Shamet and Chris Paul because you can get more for Ayton to clear out the pieces, or if you do choose to keep Ayton and you somehow, some way construct this roster, that's a sick fucking roster, man. It's a sick roster. Adam Silverman, $49.99 in the super chat.
Let's go.
Thank you for support. Matthew, blow some kisses to Adam Silverman. There you go. Said it will be figured out at this point. This is a relentless scoring machine, and the key remains Ayton and his commitment. Championship 2024. Great point by Suns Geek. Thank you for that.
Reach.
So saying all of that, what do you guys think? Do you think that they're going to trade for essentially his replacement and a piece, or trade for other pieces that they can get based on what the market can give them, and then go out and try to make anything happen via free agency?
I think the last point. I think they're gonna get what they can for DeAndre Ayton and just dig deep into the free agency thing. Because I think you have to at least have 8 guys active. You know what I mean? To actually
You have to have
play.
13 on your team.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the season, the
Exactly.
Suns might do just that.
Yeah, I'm like, they need all the help they can get. It's all bodies on deck or whatever it is. It's like they're gonna have to go out and get something. But some of those names that you mentioned, like there are some very serviceable big men out there. And just like we kind of did with Josh Okogie this year, you can find somebody in free agency who will stand out on your roster and sort of be one of the more improved players in the league. And but again, I kind of wonder if like, and again, Matt Ishbia and Josh Bartelstein are clearly running the show, but I kind of wonder if like James Jones is going to be a little stubborn and keep DeAndre Ayton. I don't know why. I kind of get that feeling. Like, am I alone on that? I don't know.
I think that I'm telling you,
I think so.
Go. I think you're alone. Is that what Matthew's saying? I think they could. I honestly think that the Suns are going to keep DA.
Yeah.
I don't think they should. Now that's a different conversation, right?
But you think they're going to keep
But I think that they're going to keep him. I really do. I think that they're going to try to figure out the rest of this by piecing together, by putting together a top 4, if you will.
Yeah.
That it's going to entice other players to be here. And I know that Zelo's 2K, what veteran players will be available? I will say this. Head over to the Suns Jam Session podcast. We've already done breaking down the entire free agency market relative to point guards and shooting guards. Tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Arizona time, I'm going live with Coach Evan B. from the He's on Fire podcast, and we're breaking down all the small forwards. It's a series that we're doing this summer, and we're just talking about who's available in free agency, whether they're club option guys, player option guys, restricted free agents, or unrestricted free agents. We're putting all the names out there, and we're discussing who the Suns could target or who might potentially be interested in coming and joining the Phoenix Suns, joining Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Frank Vogel. There's a lot of different names at play here now. So that's a series that we're putting together. So, you know, you look at point guards, and point guards wasn't too sexy. Remember, Matthew? Wasn't very sexy, was it?
No, it wasn't. I like Vucevic, though, if we go back to the center thing, just some guy that knows what to do down there. He can be frustrating, but you're not looking for a guy to be the actual 4th option, like, of a game. It has to be like a revolving door between 4th and 5th option, I feel like, for this team, where you're not going to have to be like, oh, wait, how many touches is this guy going to get? He's going to be upset because DA isn't going to be that guy now. He wants to still prove himself in a way, right? And he'll always go back to I'm not getting enough touches. So you don't want that issue.
But he's never said that, though.
I know, but it's a thing. And he talked about, even Monty was talking, for some reason, DA still talked about being in the post and not getting the ball. It's like, well, you see the defenders right there. It's going to be tipped away. You're not good positioning. So he is trying to, last year, it seemed like he was really focused on getting the ball more and why he won't get the ball more. He did mention to Monty, and that was like twice in the press conference, Monty said something about it. I think that's going to be an issue next year if Ayton's back. You just need guys in there that can step up game to game. It doesn't have to be a lot of money, but there's going to be guys like, I'm just saying, like a Jock Landale. I'm not saying that will be our starting center, but just guys like him that are going to come in and prove themselves. But even just have high energy. Just win games for you by getting a big rebound, a big steal. Kogi was that guy. Yep. You can find those guys. It doesn't have to be a big name anymore, obviously, because we're stacked right now with those 3 dudes. Yep. You just have to have guys coming in, playing around, and just maybe Booker won't have a point guard anymore again. Here we go. But we'll get guys in here
Bring
that
back Ricky Rubio.
And if it is Cameron Payne as our starting point guard, then that's what it is. And the guy just needs to learn to distribute, and that's it. Or just not, play off the ball more.
Not take crazy threes.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to get guys in here that know what they're doing and will just help this team in every way to win games, and especially crucial games in the playoffs. I don't think it's going to be anything where we get guys in here that are going to actually want the ball more. So I'm kind of away from that. Yep. It's going to be a little bit of money here or there. And I think you can get three guys, 2 or 3 guys for Ayton. It'd be perfect. That are great role players.
Yeah. Speaking of Nikola Vucevic, Chicago's sort of in a weird situation right now. I guess their owner or GM came out and said, oh, we're pretty much going to run it back. I believe that's what he said anyways. And they have some assets over that you could trade for. And Nikola Vucevic is definitely an intriguing target. Now, is he the answer? I don't know. But if we can somehow get him back and some other pieces for DeAndre Ayton, I'd be down. And again, it's just a lot of serviceable players out there that can step up and kind of do your Josh Okogie or your Jock Landale kind of roles out there. It's going to be crazy, man. I'm really excited to see what happens. But again, something just keeps reminding me. I'm just like, I really feel like James Jones might be a little stubborn and keep Deandre Ayton. Just for now, anyways.
I think you might be right. I completely agree. And then play it as it lies. And if you have to deal them at the trade deadline because the team isn't performing the way they should, despite it being Ayton's fault or not, that's a whole nother Pandora's box we don't need to open right here. The QC in the super chat, $4.99. Thank you again for supporting both shows. After getting only one max offer outside of Phoenix and his quote-unquote performance this last playoffs, we got to talk like we want Ayton to stay to run up his value. LOL. Yeah, we got to put it out there into the universe because, that's another thing that a lot of people are saying. DA's value over the last 2 postseasons has truly been devalued because of his effort, because people are seeing, the viral clips of him standing watching the Clippers, go crazy on the boards, and he's just sitting there, like a deer in a headlight. So, that's the other side of this is they might try to
lost boy. He was.
They might try to seek out different offers for DeAndre Ayton, and they're just not going to meet the needs of the franchise, and they might just try to hold on to him, and hopefully in this new system with Frank Vogel, who Frank Vogel did the right thing. He came in and he's just said, "Damn, I'm going to make DeAndre Ayton great. I'm all about having a great rim protector. I'm all So he's doing his part to do the anti-Monty and build him up versus bring him down. But at the same time, like when you're a max contract player, you shouldn't have to rely on that. Again, I think that I'm going to stake my flag right here on, again, June 18th, that DA is a part of this team. I don't think it's the right move. But again, we have to see what's going to go on. The draft is 4 days away. They haven't, I don't know if, during the show on Twitter, I know that, Suns Geek, you're pretty good at keeping up with social while we're doing this. Why I talk way too much and way too long for anybody's liking. They haven't released any of the details. So if we have given up the 52nd pick as a part of this, because if that's true, then fuck that article that's supposed to come out tomorrow on brightsideofthesun.com. Literally the first part of it is say, hey, watch the NBA draft, man. We got the 52nd pick. You never know what's going to happen. And the end is like, I'm not sure if I really want Bradley Beal. Now I got to rewrite all of it. And I had a piece come out this morning that talked about how literally this is the title. I got to go to Bright Side of the Sun.
I'm sorry, John. I was just saying real quick, not really news breaking or anything, but Woj said part of the reason for holding up full completion on the Wizards Suns trade will be to allow Washington to field offers from third teams that would give Chris Paul a chance to land with a contender, sources tell ESPN. Not really breaking news. I just thought I would read that real quick.
But here's what makes that very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a loophole.
Yeah.
In the system. So if the Suns were to trade Chris Paul directly to another team, and they release him, the Suns can't get him for 1 calendar year. But if he gets traded again, then he can't go back to the Wizards, but he could come back to Phoenix.
He's going to get traded again, though, right? He's not staying with the Wizards. There's no way.
No, he's not. I guarantee you he's not. But that's why, to Suns Geek's point, that's why Woj just reported that, and it's because they're trying to do the best thing for Chris Paul. And if they do that, if he gets double traded in this deal, he could come back to Phoenix on a minimum.
And sometimes these trades take a while to fully process and get through the league office and all the paperwork signed, and
especially one like this.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially one like that's why you get it out of the way so early, right?
Yep. Exactly. You don't sit around with your sit on your hands, if you will.
Especially like a week before the draft.
I put out a piece this morning called NBA Free Agent Market, where, again, as I mentioned, Matthew and I, we go on the pod and we break down all the different free agents, but then I put it together in an article on Bright Side of the Sun as well, so it's easier to consume. And literally the title of the Suns don't need a shooting guard, but depth is always appreciated. I got a picture of Justin Holiday on the thing. Then they go and they get Bradley Beal today. It's like, damn, dude, I got to stop writing.
Well, at this time and with this Suns front office, it's going to be a lot of this offseason, I feel like, because they're getting things done. They're going to go the opposite direction of let's just sit there and see if we can develop. Now it's like whoever's out there, we're going to get them. And as soon as John lines things up and has it ready to go, let's do it. They're in there. They're watching you, man.
Yes,
submissions.
You submitted that, Voida? Okay, we're going to go the other way.
Here we go.
Saltiest Gaming says he's getting traded to the Clippers, which is interesting. So, I think this is a good point.
Though, then.
This is a good time to bring up that Chris Paul's no longer a member of the Phoenix Suns.
The point guard.
be one of the last times we play that drop on the podcast. Chris Paul is officially now leaving. We've talked about Bradley Beal a little bit. We've talked a lot about DeAndre Ayton because that's what we do. Give me your guys' overall thoughts and feelings on Chris Paul as he officially is departing the Phoenix Suns organization. He's now played his last game. He walked off the court with the groin injury in Game 3 against the eventual champion Denver Nuggets. That was the last time we saw him in a Suns jersey. In his time as a member in a Suns jersey, he played 194 games, 15.1 points per game, 9.5 assists per game. He led the league with 10.8 assists just a season ago in 2021/22. He was a 2-time All-Star in Phoenix. Chris Paul, no longer a member of the organization.
Yeah, shouldn't have fucked a Kardashian, and we would have won. Yeah, should have hooked up with him. Yeah, no. We said this 2 pods ago or a couple pods ago. It was when he was officially waived, and then now he's actually being traded. But it's been a good time with him. I think it's simple as that. I think it's been a turnaround for this franchise, and we owe a lot to him. And it's just kind of crazy, to see the trade and be like, all right, well, now we're done with you. It kind of sucks in a way, but the only thing, my voice crack there. The only thing I was thinking was like,
okay, Matthew.
To make it better is he knows, and I think is that Clippers thing true? If he's going to the Clippers,
yeah, I was going to say
that's a good spot for him.
I know Chris Haynes isn't really like reliable, especially after the whole
that's a good
thing,
spot.
But
he can sit there.
Yeah, they're trying to reroute
the
him.
Injuries.
Yeah,
he can hang out with the injured dudes. That's good. I'm glad he's there now. I'm not being a dick. I'm just saying, like,
no, you're right.
It's a team that can win a title if they're all healthy. But yeah,
real quick, I think a key word in this is. Or 2 keywords is just reroute and pursue. Doesn't matter. It doesn't mean he's like officially going to go to the Clippers, but kind of does make sense because they do need a point guard and everything. Although, the injury history and everything with all 3 of those guys. But I just wanted to talk about Chris Paul, man. Think about it, you guys. He really is one of the greatest Phoenix Suns guards. I'm not even going to, even though he's the point guard, I'm going to say guards in Suns history. You're talking Dick Van Arsdale, Kevin Johnson, Steve Nash, Jason Kidd. I could go on and on and on. Like he's one of the top 5 Phoenix Suns point guards ever. And to do what he was doing at his age so late in his career with the Phoenix Suns, especially everything he did off the court and really everything he did for this franchise. Again, you guys, like, I don't know if we have Kevin Durant without Chris Paul. Let's be real. If Chris Paul does not come here, who knows what this Phoenix Suns team looks like right now. And we could be in a completely different state. We could be a lottery team still if Chris Paul doesn't come to this team. So I just wanted to give him his flowers, his respect. He is the point god, one of the greatest point guards of all time. I don't even care if he doesn't win a championship. Like, he deserves so much credit, and he's incredible, man. I just wanted to say thank you, Chris Paul, for all the great memories. Thank you for everything you did on and off the court for the Suns. And best of wishes in your future career. I hope you do win a championship one day. Just hopefully the Suns get there first.
Amen. Yeah, putting it in perspective, who and what Chris Paul has meant to this franchise is absolutely paramount. It was the moment in which we knew that this franchise had totally turned around.
Yep.
Because prior to Chris Paul, Ricky Rubio was the point guard, and he was darn near serviceable. We didn't make the playoffs that year, the pandemic playoffs. But it was Chris Paul who, in the bubble, got a firsthand look at Devin Booker and decided that he wanted to come here, and he forced his way here.
Literally.
Kind of like Bradley Beal just did. Forced his way to Phoenix. And in his 3 years, as I mentioned, 2-time All-Star. But what he did for Devin Booker is unquantifiable. The work ethic, the attention to detail, being a complete and utter basketball junkie in every sense of the word that Chris Paul is. That's something that Kevin Durant is. It's something that Devin Booker is. And that's what Chris Paul brought to this organization, is the basketball junkiness, is the attention to the game and love of the game, and to be a good steward of the game, a maturity that Devin Booker desperately needed. And when Chris Paul arrived, he became a much more mature player. And we saw that on the court. Devin Booker used to throw fits back in his 4th season. He used to get technicals while in street clothes in San Antonio, or versus San Antonio, Mexico City. I'll never forget it.
Yep.
And Chris Paul changed that. and it changed the perception of this team. And I think that, again, one thing that's you have to respect about the Phoenix Suns is the fact that they are a basketball junkie type of organization. You know, all their screws are tight. You when you talk about Kyrie Irving, you talk about talent, but you talk about somebody whose screws are loose. That's why I don't know if he would ever play here, because these are guys who know ball and want ball. And one of the things that Adrian Wojnarowski said in the piece about acquiring Bradley Beal was the fact that it was players like Kevin Durant, like Devin Booker, who were trying to get Beal to come here and play. And if they're approving of him, then we approve of him. But you can't not appreciate who and what Chris Paul was and has meant to this organization. I was having this conversation with some friends the other day. Where does he rank all time in Suns history relative to point guards? In my opinion, he's third all time. Yeah. It goes Steve Nash, Kevin Johnson, Chris Paul, Jason Kidd, in that order. You know, one of my buddies, Jason Kidd was such a better player, yada, yada. I'm like, yeah, but Chris Paul won with us. Yeah. Jason Kidd didn't win. He went on and he won elsewhere. He went to 2 finals with the Nets directly after leaving Phoenix and won a championship with the Dallas Mavericks. But as a Phoenix Sun, Chris Paul was amazing for this team and for this franchise.
Absolutely. And real quick on the Jason Kidd thing, I believe that was like, you know, after 95 or 96, sort of that like, you know, weird era before the 2000s and the jersey change and all that. So, but and I mean, let's be real, Jason Kidd is one of the greatest point guards of all time, but
he is
in terms of,
but not
Phoenix
as a Sun.
Suns, yeah, in his Phoenix Suns career, even though he was an all-star and everything, he didn't even come close to what Chris Paul did. So, you know.
Now the other guy.
Oh yeah! Shabba-labba ding dong!
Sneaky.
Might be the last time we play the Landry Shamet drop here on the Suns Jam Session podcast, but he is now moving on as well. 2 seasons played, and man, it felt like 4.
Yeah.
8.4 points per game in 109 games played. He started 23. He ended up shooting from beyond the arc 37% in his 2 seasons with the Phoenix Suns. 1.8 rebounds, 1.8 assists. Obviously, his big moment for the Phoenix Suns came against the Denver Nuggets when he exploded for 19 points and helped us win one of the 2 games that we beat the Denver Nuggets. We beat them 129 to 124, and it was behind his 5 of 8 shooting from beyond the arc. And that's going to be the highlight of the Landry Shamet era. Now, as we depart from Landry Shamet, you know, think back to when we acquired him. We acquired him for Javon Carter and the 20th or 29th pick, 30th pick, somewhere in there.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Somewhere in there. Mm-hmm. A few seasons ago, we thought that he was going to come in. He was going to be the guy who could back up Devin Booker, somebody who could finally provide some offense off the bench in Devin Booker's stead. 8 points never really cut it. And again, kudos to James Jones for getting rid of that contract because it was not a good one. So, final thoughts on Landry? Are you going to give him the same flowers that you did Chris Paul, Suns Geek? Or
no?
Okay, fire away.
You know what? Like, you guys know me. I keep it optimistic, sometimes to a fault. And I have a video saying, "Oh, I like this trade. You know, Javon Carter was great and everything. And oh yeah, we don't really need the draft pick and everything." I was so wrong about Landry Shamet, and we held on to him way too long. And look, I know that, you know, you can't always put the ball in the basket. I get it. You're going to go through rough, stages in your career. You're going to have a bad season here and there. But it's like you said, we had him for 2 years. It felt like 4. That was one of the worst trades in Suns history, and I will take the L. I was wrong on my thoughts on that trade.
Yeah, I'm going to go opposite. Thank you, Shamet, for everything you've given us. It's been a fun ride. I think as a human being, you have to get out there and, you know, just find some confidence in your game. You saw it in the playoffs last year, a little bit against Denver. You were there defensively. You had that big game to win.
Yep.
Was it game 3?
Game 4.
Game 4 he won for us?
I believe it was game 4.
So we have that. That's all we needed, right? No, I honestly think it's good to move on from him. And I think someone said in the chat too, Gambo saying Ayton's gone or gonna stay.
I was looking, I didn't see anything on Gambo's.
Yeah, well, I didn't see anything either.
Real quick, Gambo, I just want to just point out another fact. Sorry to interrupt the Shamet talk.
You're good.
I just love this tweet from Gambo right here. What?
Darn it, you interrupted Shamet talk.
I just want to just, again, kind of like we said at the very start of the podcast, he said new Suns owner Matt Ishbia said money would not be an object to bringing a championship team to Phoenix. And so far, he has backed up that talk. Over the next 3 years, the Suns have committed $445 million to Booker, Durant, and Beal. So,
yeah, I mean, as many times
he's
we want to try to
facts.
break down his pillars of just like bringing everything down, be like, he can't do this, you can't, the money. He does not give a fuck.
But isn't that
Doesn't
nice though, man? Like,
yeah,
that's the
it
other
is
side of
nice.
this, right?
Yeah, he's just like, and
He
I
really
know we're
doesn't give a
there's gonna be
shit.
consequences. There
Yeah.
is, but he
There will
just
be.
doesn't care right now. He's like, hey, big name can win a championship. We're gonna get him here.
Yep.
And you know, when he was even talking like to Bill Simmons and stuff last year, we kind of figured like the way he was talking about the Suns winning a championship, we wouldn't win it last year. But he's just like, every year it's gonna be, you know, our mission to get these guys here to win. And he just probably knew. He's like, it's not last year, but it's just we're building this, and it's gonna take some time. Maybe we get 2 or 3 out of this thing. Who knows?
So
Another-
Landry Shamet.
I was going to say
Go ahead.
another thing too to kind of think about here, something that might be getting overlooked. And I think it was revealed when we like hired Frank Vogel, because I was like, I don't think the Phoenix Suns are going to hire Frank Vogel without at least text messaging or calling Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. I am confident in now saying they at least picked up their damn phone and called Booker and KD before this went down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's something that I feel like might be getting overlooked with all this, because there's no way you bring in a guy like Bradley Beal with his absurd contract without going through your 2 franchise guys, especially Devin Booker, because we all know this is his team. So just wanted to go on my little side tangent there.
But it's true. But it's absolutely true. They have to, you know, give that stamp of approval.
Yep.
But you know, now we find ourselves just waiting with bated breath.
Yeah.
Because there's so many more things to follow. Because as I mentioned before, right now, because you've given away 2 players and you've received back 1, the Phoenix Suns currently have 6 players in contract or under contract.
Not enough to play.
There's not enough to even play. There's so much more that's going to happen this offseason. There's so much more. So I remind everybody, make sure you have those notifications on, whether you're on Suns Geek channel or on the Suns Jam Session channel. Make sure you have those notifications on, because you never know when we're going to go live. My family's probably waiting in the other room, being like, God damn it, we're going to surprise Dad with
hungry.
going out to lunch. And he said, no, I have to go. I have to hang out with Suns Geek and with Matthew. What else we want to talk about before we get out of here, guys? Final thoughts on Bradley Beal as a Phoenix Sun.
I'm
new drop, Matthew.
I'm staying
I know.
optimistic about
I'm
it.
looking forward to it.
I was just going to say, I'm staying optimistic about it. I don't care about the money, you know, whatever. I believe in this team. I believe in Matt Ishbia. I believe in Josh Bartlestein and James Jones and everybody. And we'll figure this out. You know, we will figure it out. Who knows what's going to happen with the draft? The draft is a few days away, so get ready, everybody. Even if we don't have that pick, there might be a scenario where we can somehow get traded into the draft. So we'll figure it out. I'm excited.
Matthew.
Yeah, BDB. It's here.
BDB. It is here. So for those of you who watch on a regular basis, BDB stands for Big Dick Booker, but now it's Booker, Durant, and Beal.
Mhm.
It's here. I'm with Suns Geek here. You know, again, and I said it earlier, is if money truly isn't an object, which Matt Ishbia really doesn't seem to think it is, then hell yeah. Yeah, we're going to go over that second tax apron, and yeah, we're going to have some challenges constructing this roster when it comes trade deadline time, when you can't do when you're restricted on your mid-level exceptions and you can't hit guys up in the buyout market. But you have this big 3, and if they're keeping DA, potentially a big 4, and actually it is a big 4 if you look at contract construction. That's 4 max contracts on one team, and you're going to have guys lining up at the footprint center wanting to get in and want to be a part of this. If you're somebody who is looking to get a championship, this is the place to come, because you have 3 elite scorers on this team now. Elite. And they're just going, and you're going to put together an offense that's going to allow everybody to be successful and everybody can cook. And if you're one of those other guys who can cook while you're on it, the spacing is going to be ridiculous on this team. Defensively, how do you stop this team?
Preach.
Defensively,
Especially if you keep DeAndre Ayton, just saying.
Yeah, that's a fact.
Mhm.
Like defensively, it's going to be damn
Offense
near
over
impossible.
defense.
Yep.
For sure.
Yeah, offense over
If-
defense for sure. But
the
you have a
Warriors can win
defensive head coach.
Yeah.
If the Warriors can win championships with all that offense, why can't the Phoenix Suns do it? Just saying. I don't care about the bench. Screw it. You got 3 of the best scorers in the league, and maybe DeAndre Ayton. So
Just got to keep him healthy, man. Just
Yep.
got to keep him healthy.
preach.
Last super chat before we get out of here, $4.99 from Han Sagan. Booker, literally the best wingman in the NBA. He serves up buckets, Kardashians, NBA superstars, and convertibles for friends and fam. So, agreed.
Don't forget when Booker said, "I want a super team to come to me."
Holy shit! It has
literally
happened.
Well, it's here.
It's
Yeah,
happened. There
That's
you
an
go.
actual quote. Like, that's not like a made up thing. That's a real quote.
I know.
So, yeah.
Well, again, thank you for everybody who took a little time out of their Father's Day to hang out and watch and or listen to this podcast, whether it's on the Suns Jam Session channel or the Suns Geek channel. You can follow me at Darth Voida on Twitter. You can read my writing at brightsideofthesun.com. You can follow Matthew.
I'm Matthew Lissy.
And you can follow Suns Geek.
At Suns Geek.
And you can follow our show at Suns Jam on Twitter as well. So until tomorrow, when I'm going live with Coach Evan B from the He's on Fire podcast to talk about small forwards, maybe I'll go on earlier because all three of us will have to get together because they've traded DeAndre Ayton. Who knows? It's a wild and crazy off season.
Yeah,
So, until then, everybody have a happy Father's Day and enjoy your new super team, even though none of them were all-stars last year.
Yeah, go home and love your daddies.